Rule 6. Use consistent terms. From a workbook for arguments by Morrow and Weston. Short arguments normally have a single theme or thread. Ideally, they carry one idea through several steps. Given this, it's important to present that idea in a clear and carefully chosen terms, and mark each new step by using those same terms again and again if necessary. Using consistent terms is, I think, one of the easiest ways to improve your writing and your arguing in a really significant, impactful way. This suggestion may seem to be in tension with style when writing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but I believe that it need not be. Here's an example. When you learn about other cultures, you start to realize the variety of human customs. This new understanding of the diversity of social practices may give you a new appreciation of the other ways of life. Therefore, studying anthropology tends to make you more tolerant. So, this is a clear enough passage, but I would like to contend that it's not as clear as it could be. So here's another example of the same passage written using consistent terms. When you learn about other cultures, you start to realize the variety of human customs. When you start to realize the variety of human customs, you tend to become more tolerant. Therefore, when you learn about other cultures, you tend to become more tolerant. So this is where we want to go. So what's the difference between the two passages? The yes version might not seem as stylish, but notice that it's crystal clear, whereas the no version hardly seems like each sentence is part of the same argument. One simple feature makes the difference. The yes argument is repeating its key terms, while the no version uses the phrase for each key idea every time that key idea recurs. For example, learning about other cultures is redescribed in the no version as studying anthropology, right? And this is a little bit more confusing than it need be. The result is that the connection between the premises and the conclusion kind of gets lost in the extra complexity. You may have not even really noticed what the premises in the argument are. Now, this complexity may be interesting, but notice that its interest comes at the cost of clarity. Now I'm going to move on to talking about the tension between clarity and style. Reusing the same key phrases can feel really repetitive, and you may be tempted in these conditions to reach for your thesaurus and start coming up with other similar words that you can use. But when we're constructing arguments, I encourage you not to do this. So notice that I'm not saying that you should do this every time in your life when you write anything. However, when you're writing arguments, it's really important to use consistent terms. Logic depends on clear connections between the premises and then between the premises and the conclusion. And it remains essential to use consistent terms for each of your ideas, quite frankly, so that the person reading it knows that you're talking about the same thing. And if you're concerned about style, as sometimes you need to be, then rather than changing your word use each time, you should instead try to present the tightest argument, not the most flowery argument. So this would be the most concise version of the passage we looked at. When you learn about other cultures, you start to realize the variety of human customs, a realization that in turn tends to make you more tolerant.